Hi there, my name's Olivia. Uh, Today I want to talk to you about something which is an aspect of being British and British life. So I've made one or two videos about this before. They're always a little bit different, but sometimes they come about because I've realised that people that I speak to either in person or online have very different lifestyles or opinions about certain aspects of culture. So I just thought it would be fun to do a short video today about one particular aspect of British life, namely our obsession with toast. So um, I've seen like a few kind of Reddits and things like that about people saying, why do British people love toast? What's not to love? I mean, it goes with everything and you can eat it any time of the day or night. It's the best meal. I do follow a blog called Separated by a Common Language, which is by a lady called Lynn Murphy, and there was a little discussion. I think it may have been in the comments, it may have been in her original post on one of her blogs about toast and the fact that British people seem to, in her words, use it as a substitute for a meal. Let me make no bones about this. It's not a substitute for a meal. It is a meal. So here's why I think our national obsession and comfort from toast comes from. I'm sure there are many other reasons, and you can certainly add your own versions in the comments if you want to. But just a sort of short version, if you like, about why I think the British love toast and what we do with it as well. So what do we do with our toast? Well, if you're going to have it for breakfast, then you might do the usual things of just buttering it or having it with jam or peanut butter or Marmite. Let's not get into the Marmite debate. Marmalade, any of those things, even Nutella or chocolate spread, whatever, those sorts of sweet things. And I've certainly got a whole cupboard in my house full of preserves and things to spread on toast, sure. And I think a lot of people will get that. I don't think anyone's going to be too confused by that or too offended by putting those things on toast and eating them for breakfast. But you can do so much more with it. So we quite often have it as a light meal as well. So things you can put on toast. Baked beans, don't judge us. And then if you really want to go for like the luxury option, it's baked beans and cheese. And then anything that's like from your store cupboard, really. So you can do fried eggs on toast, you can do tomatoes on toast, mushrooms on toast, obviously cheese on toast just on its own, fantastic. I've heard of people doing anchovies on toast. Tinned spaghetti on toast. I think there's people of, I'm going to say a certain generation, a certain age, that really remember eating tin spaghetti on toast or spaghetti hoops on toast. Definitely had that before. I'm really making myself quite hungry with this. And this isn't even to mention like what I'll call the new options of things like avocado on toast, which is pretty exotic. But mostly because it's like a green fruit slash vegetable, whatever you want to call an avocado. I mean, it's actually healthy and good for you. You don't put good things on toast. You just put like beige things from the cupboard on toast normally. Whatever. It's not to say it's not delicious. It's just what you've got in your store cupboard, right? So this is kind of where I'm going with this, because I think one of the reasons that we take comfort from toast and see it as a meal rather than just a breakfast food or a quick snack is the fact that it's all bound up with a lot of traditions and ways of working. So if I go back in time, now I'm talking about 20th century, sort of early 20th century, people who went out to work, so more or less working class men and later women, would have their main meal of the day in the middle of the day whilst they were at work. So they would normally have their dinner at lunchtime. Now this raises a whole other conversation about what we call meals and what time we have them, so I'm just going to keep this really brief. It's not that video, okay? But we have many different names for our meals in this country, and depending on where you live, you can call your meals a different name, and it's very, very confusing. So I'm going to say that at the middle of the day I would have my lunch, and in the evening I would have my dinner. But if your main meal is at any time, let's say your main meal is in the middle of the day, that could still be called your dinner, like your main meal. So for example, even if you go, if today kids go to school and they don't eat a school lunch, they eat a school dinner because it's meant to be your fortifying, nourishing, main substantial meal of the day. And for working class people, you may have had that option. So you eat your main meal at lunchtime in your lunch break from work. During the Second World War, in particular, I believe that that all companies of over a certain size or that had a certain number of employees were actually obliged to provide a canteen at work for their workers to eat because of rationing and restrictions. They were actually told that they had to supply a canteen where people could get a decent meal in the middle of the day. And out of that came the fact that many people only then wanted a light meal in the evening. Now, again, this light meal could come under several different names, but I'm going to call it tea. So the word tea obviously has lots of different loaded meanings in Britain. Okay, so obviously it can be a cup of tea first and foremost, or it could be afternoon tea or high tea, but it can also mean a light meal that you usually take early in the evening. And this is where the toast comes in. Okay, so specifically thinking about that time where there was rationing or shortages of food. And indeed, not just because of the war, but also because certain fruits, vegetables, and other products that came in from overseas were not readily available. People would just have a light snack in the evening. So they've had their main meal of the day at lunchtime, they've had their big calorie content there, they've had their meat and two veg, etc. And now they just want a light snack to tide them over in the evening. So toast would be the one of the options, you know. So you might again, so fried egg on toast, beans on toast, cheese on toast, any and all of the above options that I've already mentioned. It could be savoury or it could be sweet or even a mixture of both. You know, you can have one piece with your savoury item and then like your jam on afterwards or whatnot. Tea as a meal, as a concept for a meal, is also something that is sometimes reserved for younger children as well. So I'm not sure if you do this in your family. I never really had this tradition, if you want. In my family, we all ate together in the evenings, but again, over the years, depending on your parents' income or situation or working hours, it might be that the children would have an early tea, an early dinner when they came home from school, maybe 5 o'clock in the evening, and they'd get a light meal, so like some sandwiches or some leftovers, you know, like cold meats and that sort of thing. I don't mean scraps, I just mean things that, you know, your mum didn't have to spend a lot of time cooking. And again, toast was one of those options for the kids, something on spaghetti on toast, you know, something like that. And then sometimes the parents would have their dinner or their evening meal, whatever you want to call your evening meal, they would have that separately a little later on in the evening, maybe when the kids have gone to bed. So tea means a lot of different things. That's kind of come up out of this conversation. And toast is one of those comfort foods because it's one of those easy staples, isn't it? So those light teas that I'm talking about were often born out of the fact that you didn't have access to um, a lot of fresh foods or fresh produce during the war. In particular, there was rationing. You may not have been able to get to the shop. You may have run out of your coupons. You may not have been able to have access to fresh ingredients, but you would have tins in the cupboard, in the store cupboard, in the pantry, whatever you want to call it. You would have tins of, again, things like anchovies. I personally wouldn't touch that with a barge pole, but anchovies or sardines on toast has certainly been a thing. Don't argue with me. There are people who do like this and people who will eat it. I'm not one of them. Maybe you're not one of them, but it doesn't mean to say it doesn't exist. So yeah, people would take things from the store cupboard and do with them what they could, you know, and make the best of what they had. So that's why toast was a real convenience food at that time. And it still is. And it's one of those things, I'd say, morning, noon, or night. If you come in late from work and you're really like really tired and you can't be bothered to cook, you stick some toast in the toaster, you can do whatever you want with it. It's like an instant meal. If you come in the middle of the night, you've been out and you need like that bit of stomach lining, you know what I mean? Something just to sit with you. You grab a piece of toast, etc. So I think that's where our British obsession and nostalgia about toast comes from. And I think it sort of depends on your generation and how old you are as to what your favourite thing to have with toast is. So as I say, for a certain generation, I think tin spaghetti on toast is like was like a real treat when they were kids. There's a lot of people I've spoken to that remember having that. And for, you know, again, for like newer people, hey, maybe avocado on toast will go down as the next tradition, you know, the next comfort food. Who knows? So you're very welcome to comment about if you see toast as a comfort food, if you see it as a staple, if you don't understand the obsession, that's fine. You tell me. I don't really mind. Or if there's something weird that you like on toast that everybody else might find a little bit strange, that's fine. Just all I ask is like, don't judge other people for what they're commenting on. If you don't like something, you don't need to make a big comment about it. You can just be nice, find a nice way of commenting on that if you need to. Okay, just be respectful. It's just toast, guys. Don't cry over burnt toast. That's not a saying. It is now. We should make that a saying. Anyway, that's all from me. I'll just keep it brief. And I should go and put the kettle on and get some toast, I'm guessing. See you all next time. Bye for now.